Psalm 137, verses 5 to 6, the psalmist knows the source of his music. Psalm 137:5, If I forget you, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget her skill. The musician knows that the power for, and the ability to bless God with his music from his hand that is employed with a skill for the harp comes directly from the Lord. His reiterated intent is demonstrated in a fear of the Lord. To sing in such circumstances might be perceived as unmindful of the devastation of Jerusalem and implies that they have forgotten her sorrows, not caring that it was now desolate. The remembrance of its calamities pressed hard upon them, and they could not do anything which would seem to suggest that they had become oblivious to the sufferings that had been leveled against their nation. Psalm 137:6 May my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you, if I do not exalt Jerusalem above my chief joy. If I do not remember you, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth in an agony of thirst and suffering. I dare not put my chief joy of song and music above my remorse for the destruction of your sanctuary, the source of your delight. The word picture is an expression of the deep remorse and grief for the captives, recompensed by a mouth so dry that it is unable to form words, let alone songs. Literally, if I do not place your sanctuary in Jerusalem as the height of my joy rather than personal accolades, I receive for the gift that I am able to express in word and music, may these curses befall me. If the psalmist, along with all of the believing Jews in the diaspora, did not consider the sanctuary of Jehovah as the greatest source of their delight in life. The poet now, in holy anger, turns to call God's wrath down upon the enemies of Israel, who are at the same time considered as enemies of Jehovah. Perhaps the psalmist has in mind the betrayal of Jerusalem and Judah by Edom. Let's explore that road for just a moment. Edom, by refusing to aid their brothers and joining against them with Babylon, they became enemies of God's Hebrew tribes, who were restrained by Jehovah's expressed will in Deuteronomy 23:7. Do not despise an Edomite, because he is your relative. The impact of that passage may open your mind as it did mine, pondering the forgotten relationship of Edom to the children of Israel. Edomites were the progeny and offspring of Esau, the brother of Jacob. Therefore exalting God's enemies was a great crime in the eyes of the Jews and led to a call to Jehovah for divine vengeance that would terminate their existence. The territory of Edom began at the head of the Gulf of Aqaba, a tributary to the Red Sea, to the foot of the Dead Sea, a rugged region of ravines and valleys wherein lies the rock-hewn city of Petra. Perhaps you'll recall that it was Edom who churlishly refused permission for the Hebrews to pass through their land on the way to the Promised Land. At length, they received their due recompense as they eventually fell under the control of the Chaldeans and Nebuchadnezzar, whom they participated with. Obadiah 1:18 shares this prophetic insight. The people of Israel will be a raging fire and Edom a field of dry stubble. The descendants of Joseph will be a flame roaring across the field, devouring everything. There will be no survivors in Edom. I, the Lord, have spoken. Now consider the applicability of these passages to the Christian of today. The gathering together of the saints in the assembly of believers singing songs of praise that exalts our Lord and is most pleasing to Him. Our regular attendance in group worship, praise, and study are putting Him above all else that we could be doing.